The word was spoken by the mouth of the prophets. Let it be. Times of hard working and poverty of souls, the flesh is at a crossroads. Behind the walls of lies, vices of hearts, the human heart despises the truth. Doomed to misery, blind slaves, systems of hungry spawn. And among all this crowd, nuggets hide in empty apartments on the outskirts of cities, tormented by everyone and at all times, utter the word of life with pure lips. The weak string will sink into the deep of oppression, and after it, a new life will be reborn under the all-seeing eye of God, the Spirit of Truth.
I welcome you to the Movement to the Light platform. We'll not tell you how to act, how to think and what to do. We only give you access to information and how to dispose of it. Decide for yourself. I want to say in advance that you should not look for justice, but you should look for yourself and your place in this world. Because in the world of manipulation and deception, it is difficult to find the right answers. From our side, they will also not be given. Only the keys will be given so that you can independently participate in the assembly of the game called life. And today, it's time for the 7th episode. Self-sufficiency the wrong way. A person's life is a task. The tasks of man is to multiply life on earth. For any development bears fruit, good fruit. Development always has a direction, and the direction is right. The right direction differs from the wrong one in that it allows a person to find himself through the knowledge of the inner world. Self-knowledge is the main task since it reveals to a person the meanings, the correct meanings. The true meaning lies in the endless development and multiplication of life. False paths are dictated by false ideals. False ideals rule in a world where there is no love. Love is the foundation on which a person's relationship with the world is built. The world isn't something separate from man, and man isn't something separate from the world. Just as the world is based on symbiosis, so a person should strive for symbiosis with the world. Symbiosis based on interaction and multiplication. Every person who understands this will strive for unity, for the unity of his good with others, for the unity of his happiness with others, for the unity of his love with others, for the unity of all is present. The wrong way is that a person keeps all the goods to himself, keeps them at his own risk, because he considers self-sufficiency to be the rule. The rule didn't create man to live in solitude, for it's not good for a man to be alone, but for a man to strive to change himself to please God, to please the Spirit of Truth. The world is imperfect. The world may or may not accept a person, but a person who strives for perfection, who knows himself, strives for knowledge of the world, for constant interaction with it, because it is so laid down by God that man was created for the world and not the world was created for man. A person needs to sacrifice himself, his time, and energy to make the world a better place. Self-sufficiency is a false path, since it separates a person from the world, separates him by desire to keep all the best to himself, separates him by the desire to protect himself from the influences of world on him. Out of fear and ignorance, this person seeks solitude, but false solitude, because he wants to preserve himself, because of the fear of losing what he has, because of the fear of sacrificing his own for the sake of increasing life. Sacrifice is in the name of love, is a real benefactor, since it doesn't allow a person to withdraw into himself, but allow him to find himself through the acceptance of the world. The world may be vicious and may not accept a person, but a person who has a benefactor inside always strives to accept the world, strives for the bestowal, strives to sacrifice part of his interest for the sake of the common good and the multiplication of life. If you look at the internet and the content that it generates today, a fairly large number of materials are devoted to the self-development of a person. These videos tell you how a person should change, what they should do. They say that even if the whole world is against you, you should not give up and so on. All this is certainly great unless there is one but. A very big but, and this but is in the word self-development. This word is a fake, because nothing develops by itself. Everything develops thanks to something and someone. If we take the basics of psychology, then it says that psyche is always traded by another stronger psyche. This is an axiom. That means that the lie lies in the very root, because self-development is a lie, and from this lie grows another lie, which is called self-sufficiency, because a person can develop himself. He needs new cornerstones and the new people with whom a person enters into communication. Therefore, self-sufficiency is a deception, because a person has wealth thanks to something or someone and not in spite of it. In spite of it, you can only generate pride and vanity, which is observed everywhere, especially at large training sessions, where mentors with foam and the mouth say how hard it was for them in life, but they were able to achieve everything themselves, although it was said. But as for me, my feet had almost stumbled, my steps had nearly slipped, for I was envious of the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked, for they have no pangs until death, their bodies are fat and sleek, they are not in trouble as others are, they are not stricken like the rest of mankind. Therefore pride is their necklace, violence covers them as a garment. Their eyes swell out through fatness, their hearts overflow with follies. They scoff and speak with malice, loftily they threaten oppression. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue struts through the earth. With these lines, I want to tell you that the whole story about self-development and other psychological tricks is nothing but not a machination of people who simply don't know how to do anything useful, but they want to eat. And how can you earn money if you don't want to work? But it is very easy, you just need to say what is pleasant to the ear of the listeners. And most people's ear are tuned as locators, and for what will give an excuse for their laziness and vices. Also, it was worth remembering that. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. As a result, it turns out that people who enjoys the theme of self-development and self-sufficiency are ordinary slaves of vices, which are based on psychology, which in turn means that psyche of these people is not above the borderline level, since it is subordinate to them. As a result, people open their hearts and minds, letting in the dirt, which begins to cover the life of a person and subsequently doesn't let him go, because it is addressed to the psychological needs. to the thirst for the dominance and the thirst for the satiety, and sometimes in most sour form cause. For the beginning of sin is pride, and the possessor of it spews out of abomination. This can be easily seen just to watch a couple of videos about successful success or go to a couple of training sessions. They will definitely say that other people are nerds, that most people are happy with everything in life, but you, if you take care of yourself, with our help, of course you will achieve great success. But the most important thing is naturally silent. After all, if you tell people who came to the training that all the troubles come from themselves, then no one will pay for it, because you want to win the world, being a hero in the eyes of others, rather than work on yourself, knowing in advance that this may bring wealth and may not bring, but still have to work on yourself, because the ultimate goal is not your personal benefit, but the multiplication of life on earth. Therefore, people turn a blind eye to such trifles as the multiplication of life, but they look widely at the multiplication of their personal pocket although. Odious to the Lord and to mortals is pride, and for both oppression is a crime. I am sure that there will be people who will only criticize my approach in order to assert themselves, because of the desire to satisfy the thirst of dominance, and others will demand a solution, because if I explain something then I must provide a way out. In general, I agree, because if you say A, then you should say B, and the way out is quite simple if you know yourself. In this case, the problem lies in their borderline type of the psyche. To be more specific, in the violation of communication abilities. Communication is more than a word. It is the ability to build a dialogue in a constructive and effective way. To do this, there is a communicative basis. It consists of 3 points. The desire to get something, the ability to maintain and to develop relationship dialogue, the ability to maintain self-esteem is a conflict situation. It is here that the whole problem of the modern system of relations between people is revealed. It didn't come out of nowhere. The fact is that we live in a world of comfort and easy access to resources, if you of course have money. Therefore, most people have excellent communication in terms of the desire to get something. But as mentioned earlier, if you say A, you have to say B. That's the whole problem, because people only want A. They want to get something exclusively. But in order to get something, you have to give something. This is point B, the ability to maintain and develop relationships. The key word in this sentence is a skill. This point needs to be developed in itself, and this is possibly only through overcoming difficulties. This is where the conflict of interests come in, because where there is a desire for comfort, there will be evidence of difficulties, and where there is evidence of difficulties, there is no self-respect, because it is based on what you don't like about yourself. And in a situation in which you find yourself through your own or someone else's fault, but from which you need to find a way out with minimal losses for all participants and not just for yourself. Therefore, all the videos about self-development inspire a person with the idea that the world is bad and he needs to become better than the world, become better than other people, that you need to stand above the world and success is guaranteed. Beautiful picture, isn't it? And all this sounds very funny, but only if it is not so sad. Because how many millions of people have fallen into the trap of self-development and self-sufficiency, thereby making themselves slaves to pride and ignorance. For all that it is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and pride of life is not from the Father, but it is from the world. Now you will be told that the thought that will be unpleasant, which will be like medicine, better but useful. Self-development is stupidity, but development through humility is wisdom. Self-sufficiency is ignorance, and self-sacrifice is a benefactor. The keys to the development of man as a person lie in humility, for pride is the lot of the animal principle, and humility is the lot of the spiritual principle. And the spirit teaches a person to increase life on earth, and this is possible only if a person accepts that the body is only a tool. Self-sacrifice must not be blind, but must be wise, for wisdom and humility are guides to the light. But are people willing to sacrifice themselves, their time, their strength, to make other people's life better? This is a very big question, and unfortunately you know the answer to it. How often do you meet people who only want to get something from you, or who absolutely don't care about you? And how rarely do you meet people, but what are people, at least one person, who is ready to give you something just like that? And since the animal nature is more bothersome in people, people like a herd copy the most disgusting things. But if the spiritual principle spoke in people, then despite all the hardships of life, these people would still do good, cause love is their love giver, cause one's pride will be bring him low, but he who is lowly in spirit will obtain honor. Honor is acquired through overcoming difficulties, and difficulties harden to the character. People who are driven by the vices will never overstep their pride. Never. Because they will be able to make. But a person who can overcome the fear of loss will gain more than others, because there are things that are valuable and there are things that are principles. And each person makes a choice about what his heart lies on, for things that warm self-love or for common good which increase life. Self-development and self-sufficiency are lies. These lies stems from pride and fear. These vices come from the animal nature. The animal principle kills a person in a person, and the spiritual principle gives you to find yourself. The spiritual principle is a key to understanding life, and it comes from humility and wisdom. These virtues come from the spirit of truth to which man should strive. And one last thing. Remember, one series will not give an exhaustive answer to everything. We did this deliberately so you would come to the conclusion that there is no answer to everything, that the answer to everything lies in the answers to many questions. These questions will be discussed in the next series, which will complement each other, so that you have a complete picture. Because although the whole is a combination of many parts, it is not always identical to them, like the carpet, although it is a combination of many threads, but it isn't threads initially. And that the individual threads will become a carpet, this will require the right effort. This is the end of it today. Peace be upon you and your home.